Razorback fans checking out this video, and then SEC fans who are just normal followers of the channel. And if you're new here, thank you for joining us. Welcome in. Today we're talking here on this special edition bonus episode of Welcome to the Madness. Arkansas, the potential that they have here in the NCAA tournament. Let's find out how deep this team can go and kind of the conversation here. Today, that's what we're looking at in this fun corner of the bracket that the Razorbacks are in here in the West region, and specifically in Providence, Rhode Island. Arkansas is the 10 seed who's going to be facing Kansas in game one. And then, of course, just south of them in the bracket is the number 2 seed, St. John's Red Storm, and the number 15 Omaha Mavericks. Before we get into the deep talk and the analysis on these teams that the Arkansas is facing, we're joined by a special guest here from Hogs on the Hill, Caleb Shepard, and we talked about this Razorback team as they enter the NCAA tournament. All right, I want to welcome to this very bonus episode of the Hoop Southbound show as we dive into Arkansas and their potential here for a tournament run. Caleb Shepard from Hogs on the Hill. I'm still having to break myself of saying the old name of the show. Caleb, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good, excited. I feel like the selection committee was playing with Arkansas a little bit and waiting until the very last region to slide us in there at that 10 seed. But at the end of the day, Arkansas is in the tournament, and that's what matters.
I mean, yeah, that at the end of the day, and trust me, after seeing that North Carolina bid, I was over there. It's like, okay, who did the committee mess over? It better not be us. That was the big worry that I had going on. But at the end of the day, Arkansas got a wild draw in this tournament. Do you just want to go into just a little bit? I know I'm talking about it today here just on this, but your thoughts on what I'm calling Hall of Fame corner in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it seems like this selection committee is just really setting up the storylines in this side of the bracket for Arkansas. You know, you have Cal versus Self round two after Arkansas played them in the preseason for an exhibition game. And then, if Arkansas manages to get the win there, they get to match up with more than likely Rick Pitino at St. John. So, that this corner of the bracket could end up with some wild showdowns if the pieces fall right.
Yeah, and the team that no one's talking about yet. We'll see what happens in their game against St. John's, but the team that likes to eliminate trash cans, the Omaha Mavericks, if you guys are following that story. Caleb not as familiar, I could tell, because he didn't crack up on that as much following the story out there with the Omaha Mavericks, but it's a pretty good bit. You got to check out their coach dressing up as a WWE wrestler and power driving trash cans after they win basketball games. It's one of the best things that you'll find on social media right now. Caleb, I want to talk about the Razorbacks right now because this team has looked better throughout since the calendar turned from January to February as they've gone on this, so to speak, just hotter, not quite just red hot, but heating up here as we get closer to March. What do you think the big thing for the Razorbacks has been in seeing the success and the script just flip for them after getting off to a historically bad start for this program?
Yeah, I think for when you look at it, Arkansas wins 7 of the last 11, 4 of the last 5. And I think that's in big part to, guys kind of just, settling into their roles, guys stepping up, next man up in the case of, Adu Thero going down. You see the elevated play from Trevor in Brazil. You're seeing the play out of Jonas Adu that you kind of expected that you're going to get all along. And, it's kind of, is he really finally getting healthy now, mentally to a good point where you see this level of play that you kind of were expecting to get from day one, and you're getting it here at the, right time in February going into March. And, it's not the worst thing. Yeah, you wish you would have had that play earlier in the season, and, maybe that could have helped you not start 0-5. But to see his play, getting heated up right now, I love to see that. I love to see the elevator play from Brazil. And then DJ kind of really getting into the groove of playing that point position, Nelly kind of finding his role. It seems like these guys are really clicking at the same time. It's like Cal said early in the season, give us some time. We're going to get there. Guys are going to figure out their roles, and I think that's what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, so after playing in the SEC this season, which has just been a historically difficult league to play in, how do you think Arkansas is going to fare going in the NCAA tournament? Do you feel like they're maybe underseeded, overseeded? based on everything, because they've seen some legit competition this season. We've seen them look like the Showtime Lakers out there against Michigan, but then we've also seen just moments of them just not looking like a good basketball team in some of these games when SEC play turned onto the calendar. And kind of your thoughts there and your impression entering this field where you're no longer facing, well, at the end of the day, 14 tournament teams on your conference schedule.
Right. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I almost would say maybe the seed's just about right. I kind of had in my mind that you were probably going to see us in that 9, 10, 11 range. And to see, what Arkansas went through in this gauntlet of the SEC play, like you said, 14 of 16 teams making it into the field of play. Um, I honestly think it might be a little bit of relief there for Arkansas kind of going up against and not discounting Kansas, but a Kansas team that, is not historically the Kansas you normally see. I think they said this is the first year that this Kansas team led by Bill Self has been lower than a 4 seed since Bill Self's been at Kansas. So, not saying it's going to be an easy game, but I think the gauntlet that Arkansas went through in the SEC it well prepares them to take on this team that they've seen before, a little bit different because they didn't have Hunter Dickinson before, a guard or two. So um, I don't hate the draw, and I think the seeding is about right for what this Arkansas team's done after starting 0-5, and then kind of as Cal said, everybody counted Arkansas out, but they didn't put the nails in the coffin, and here we are.
Well, that is certainly true when you talk about the way that this team finished here down the stretch. One thing I've talked a lot about with the Razorbacks is depth. So I've got two questions here to really talk to you about. For Arkansas, it just seems like someone can play ball on any given night. Somebody can go for 20, and you don't really know who it is, whether it's Trevin Brazil grabbing a double-double in that game against Vanderbilt that he has, Jonas Adu showing us that who Jonas Adu is when he had his game against Mississippi State late in the season. You were talking about that with his health kind of turning a page. DJ Wagner having a sensational second half against Kentucky, and then Nelly Davis showing up here or there for big nights. What's kind of your impression on what's, the talent and what's allowed these players just why is that? Kind of your thought there. Why is it that just some player you don't know who is going to have the night they're going to have? Because you talk about Trevor Brazil, perfect example. Next man up mentality. Adu Thero was your leading scorer, and here's Trevor Brazil coming in and putting up double doubles after playing 5 minutes a night or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's very much this team has really come together and can recognize, if a guy's having an off night, another guy's going to step up, and I think that's the thing that if you've seen any of the Vice documentary going into some in-depth things with Arkansas, that's what Cal kind of is putting upon this team, and I think a lot of it too is the growth of two freshmen between Carter Knox and Billy Richmond. Those two have tremendously helped this team and are a big part of that run because you look at it, you go from Billy Richmond not playing maybe 8-10 minutes at the start of conference play, if we were lucky, to now he's playing, 20, 25 minutes a game, and it is turned into a key piece for this Arkansas team. And so I think it's really these guys just relying on one another and really understanding, hey, if DJ's having an off night or Nelly's having an off night, that Carter can step up, or like you said, Brazil or Jonas can step up, or Big Z. And I think it's one of those things where these guys have, fought hard, rallied around one another, and that they're in a great mindset to make a run here potentially.
Yeah, it's fair enough. One piece though, we were talking about that depth situation overall is the Razorbacks got some news over the weekend that Boogie Fland, who was out indefinitely, seemed like it was a season-ending hand injury. He's it's looking like he's back, and all signs point to a go here for Boogie Fland, Arkansas's #1 freshman and a future NBA draft pick here. What are your thoughts on how he mixes back into this team moving? And I know we've heard some of it with Cal saying it's like he kind of just wants to get out there and doesn't want to disrupt anything. Your thoughts on how Cal will probably use Boogie here in this NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think if you're Cal looking at this team and kind of the rhythm they've been in, is you want to be very careful about how you insert Boogie. I've had conversations with numerous people about In my opinion, I think if you insert Boogie in this lineup, he's going to be a guy that's going to come off the bench. He's not going to start for you. He's going to be a guy. I think he needs to be a guy that's going to relieve DJ. Don't have him and DJ on the floor at the same time because we kind of saw, a small sample size of that before he got injured in the opening conference play where it just wasn't working. And, I think these guys have really fallen into their roles. DJ taking over at point. Nelly's shifting to that two guard spot where, when you had Boogie in the lineup, he shifted over to the three. And I think that was a odd spot for Nelly to play. And I think it's just going to be another depth piece. Like Boogie said, he doesn't want to disrupt this rhythm. He's been there on the benches. You see him through all these games that this team has been success celebrating with the team. He understands the chemistry that's going on. So I think for him, he wants to just be able to help the team any way he can. And sure, maybe you get him back and he's feeling it and he gets hot in a game, you let him roll. But I think he's going to be a guy that I don't know what his conditioning's like. I know he's probably been doing some work off to the side, but I wouldn't expect him to play maybe more than 10 to 12 minutes in this game if we're lucky. But it depends again. If he comes out and is clicking on all cylinders, hitting shots, making plays, then that really gives Cal something to think about, during the game.
Yeah, I think it would definitely give him something to think about if he's out there being a rock star for Arkansas, if that's a possibility here down the stretch. I do agree with you. Nelly moving into that two guard spot has really opened his game up, and we saw it immediately there for that Georgia game there in January. So yeah, it's definitely a change, and you don't want to disrupt any of that. But one thing I will note as well, having that depth, kind of obviously you're not a super deep team, but kind of gives a relax a little bit on the foul situation and late game situations. With Arkansas, we saw in the SEC tournament when they were on tired legs and they had more injury problems. What does his depth represent to this team in your mind with Boogie coming back and Arkansas going from now a 7-man rotation back to an 8 with maybe, depending how far Arkansas gets in this tournament, the potential for all 9 guys being back to this team?
Yeah, I think the key lies in what you said there, the tired legs piece. I think he's going to be a great body that can come in and, whether he's given, DJ a break, Billy a break, or even Nelly, I think whatever he can give to this team, if he can, give you 10 to 12 minutes, 8 to 10 points, you'll take what you can get from Boogie because you've seen the success they've had without him. So only adding him back in the right situation and right scenarios in my mind, can only help Arkansas. And, if you're wanting to make a run, like you said, depending on how deep you can get, you know, having a little bit deeper bench is going to help because you're going to have to play, um, this first weekend, you win your game Thursday, you're going to be playing Saturday. But then after that, if you can get through those two games, you get a little bit of a break to rest compared to playing back to back days in the SEC tournament. So I think that's going to be help tremendously. Plus, he's going to come out there and give you an extra 5 fouls if you one of your other key guys you don't want them to get necessarily in foul trouble, and DJ gets a couple fouls in the first half, and you got 3-4 minutes left. Play Boogie the rest of the first half. That way you don't risk a potential extra foul for DJ in that first half and things like that. So I think that depth is really going to be beneficial going forward here.
And we've also seen Arkansas at times have this accordion effect where they can put up a big lead, give up some of that lead, and then you're kind of sweating down the stretch. We saw that against State. We saw it against South Carolina. We saw it a little bit against Ole Miss as well in the SEC tournament. And yeah, those legs, I think, have a portion of that to deal with without being able to rest somebody. But you mentioned the ability to make a deep run, everything like that. If you can do that in the tournament, you got a player on this team, 2 players on this team that I think are significant pieces for this squad here that have made recently big runs in March. Of course, Nelly Davis going to the Final Four 2 years ago, Jonas Adu coming off an Elite Eight last year. How much do you think Calipari leans on that tournament experience from these 2 upperclassmen on the squad?
I think it's going to be big because if you look at it, these guys can tell all of these, younger players, what to expect, kind of the atmosphere, the mindset to have. And I think it's always key to, leaning on your veteran players, especially guys like Nelly and Jonas to kind of step up here and, an important time to be some veteran leaders on this team. And I think maybe that has a little bit to do with some of the success that you've seen down the stretch too. These guys saying, "Hey, we've been in this position before where we've made runs. So, here's what you've got to do, and it also helps, with Jonas getting into a better spot where he's playing well. And I think that just goes along with that mentality he has of, hey guys, I've been here, been there, done that. Same with Nelly, and just kind of helping these younger players out, and even, like Carter and Billy, guys that are extremely talented freshmen. Uh, and just not letting the moment be too big for them.
Absolutely. Caleb, is there anything that you think Razorback fans who maybe don't listen to your channel, obviously I'm going to give you a chance to tell them where they can find you, but need to know about this team, maybe if they're a late tune in to the season or something like that, or just generally like what folks need to know about this Razorback team heading into the tournament?
Yeah, I think heading in the tournament, you can't count this team out. We've seen, games where, and I've been pleasantly surprised late down the stretch where, like you said, Arkansas might build up a big lead, but that gets whittled back down. But this team finds a way to win. It's like that mentality that Cal has instituted, and he talked about a little bit his refuse to lose mentality. And I think that's big that this team has really bought into that. Down the stretch, they've really um, bought into what Cal is kind of preaching to them, and with a shortened rotation, these guys have had to really come together. So, if you watch any of the little kind of selection show reaction clips that Arkansas social media has posted, I mean, these guys have smiles across their faces. They're excited. They worked so hard for this, and I don't think they're going to take this lightly. It's like Cal said. Arkansas can play with anybody in the country, but they can also get beat by anybody in the country. And that's the talent that's on this roster. And I think with the ups and downs that we've had this season for Arkansas, and what you've seen out of Cal, and what I would say would be a masterclass coaching job by him. Don't count this team out, because they've come a long way since December, January, to put themselves clearly in the tournament. And now it seems like things are clicking a lot more for them. So don't count Arkansas out. To even possibly make a run in this tournament.
I know, fair enough. All right, so where can Razorback fans find you at? I know this is the first time we've had you on the show this season. We had to wait till March apparently to get it done, but where can my listeners find your show at, where you talk about Razorback sports all day long?
Yeah, you can find us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Hogs on the Hill. Our YouTube channel, Hogs on the Hill, as well. Anywhere you find your podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, just Hogs on the Hill. You can find us there. We're constantly adding more things and content for you guys. Baseball season's ramped up. March Madness is here, so it's a busy month for us. Softball's going, gymnastics just wrapped up, so it's been a busy time here in Razorback Nation. Spring football's gotten starting to get kicked off a little bit, and as news comes out with that, and before you know it, here it's going to be portal season for basketball. Once the NCAA tournament teams start getting knocked out of the tournament, guys are going to start entering the portal, and it's going to be that time of year again. So for all that content, you can find us on all your social media pages, Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Just Hogs on the Hill. And we go live 2 shows a week, Thursdays and Sundays. This week is going to be a little bit different with obviously the game on Thursday. But hey, tune in, join us in the chat, and let us know your opinion. We're happy to have you over here at Hogs on the Hill.
Thank you, Caleb, so much. Let's talk about this Arkansas Kansas game that's set to happen. Arkansas faced Kansas in an exhibition game back in the preseason. Razorbacks won at 85-69. Take it as you will. Arkansas had home court advantage in that, and it was an exhibition game. So, yeah, not normally what you expect and everything else. But Calipari has faced Bill Self several times in his career. You may remember their games in the Champions Classic, the Big 12 SEC Challenge, and even a national championship game. Both these teams, though, came into this season with big expectations, and both were not quite as high as those expectations throughout the course of this season. But where Arkansas finished this season with a little momentum, winning 6 of its last 10, Kansas ended up losing 6 of their last 10 games. Those last 10 games where Arkansas saw wins against Missouri, Texas, Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State, all tournament teams. whereas Kansas only had one win against the tournament team, and that was back when they beat Arizona in the regular season. Arizona also the team that knocked them out of the Big 12 tournament. So, Razorback fans, what do you need to know about Kansas? The primary rotation is a lineup used 37% of the time is DeJuan Harris, Zeke Mayo, Rylan Griffin, KJ Adams, and Hunter Dickinson. Dickinson is one of the big stars for this team, averaging a double-double night. Key man at the number 5 spot, and that's going to be a primary focus in Kansas's offense. Also, Zeke Mayo, the best three-point shooter on the team and player whose scoring ability is going to be the primary reason to keep defenses honest against the Jayhawks. You're going to see him work from that wing spot out there. Let's jump into that as we jump into the whiteboard. So here on the whiteboard, what we're taking a look at here is a couple of different plays, setups that Bill Self uses on his offense, and he's been running this for a long time. Bill Self calls this what we call four game, is how he kind of pronounced this. Now, a normal pattern, the wing cuts back door, and the corner receives a dribble handoff. The pattern is run off enough that the defense starts anticipating it, and it'll be a run on repeat from side to side. When the defense starts anticipating it, the defense starts going flat, and the back door is open for a lob or for a cut from the corner. Especially when the offense does this over and over, it clears the defense and finds those dunker spot opportunities. The other important part of what the number 5 is doing, that'll be Hunter Dickinson, is where he pins the defender and the low defender and helps either get someone out of position or create the other player to be late. Then the number 5 kind of acts as a shield for corner passes. Another set that we're seeing here in a diamond formation that Kansas runs a lot, the number 5 will pin the defender while either the 2 or the 3 will run to the wing. Part 2, the 4 will come in and set a fake, or what Self refers to as a BS ball screen. The guard at the top will step back while the number 1 will run to the weak side after the pass. You can see all the options the guard on the wing has, but the number 4 is setting up a lob to the number 5 at the basket. The success of this play can confuse defenses and their switches and instantly put a help side defender out of position by switching the role for the person who is supposed to be the help defender. I hope that makes sense. In short, metaphorically, the offense changes the role of each piece that you have on the chessboard. Knights are now bishops, rooks are now pawns, and thus the defense is out of position without even realizing it. Commonly, you see this by the help man following the fake screen, and the defender in the help role changes, creating an opportunity for the lob or a post up for the defender who's normally front guarding in this position. Self's been running these plays in some variation for years. The overload gives defenses gives them fits overall. Momentarily losing your awareness of the post pin can create an opportunity as well for that number 5 spot. So how do you guard it? Arkansas is a very good defensive team. What does Arkansas need to do on defense? Option 1 is to deny the initial pass to the wing. This requires the defender to hedge and use their athleticism to knock the pass away and hopefully get a play out in transition. We've seen Arkansas thrive there. This will be a key role for Nelly Davis and Billy Richmond for them coming off this defense, you would think. If the ball doesn't get to the wing, it doesn't get to the post in this play. Option 2 is to stay behind and take a less aggressive approach on defense. That hasn't really been Arkansas's team style overall, but it is indeed an option, and it can push the 5-man out a little bit further to take a slightly less efficient shot further away on his little put up there. And then the most common approach has been to sag off the fake screen. Key role for this would either be Trevin Brazile or Carter Knox. Essentially, this forces the ball to go around the perimeter. Kansas is good from 3 at 35.2%, but only will opt for a 3-point shot at 34.3% of their attempts, well below the national average. The last thing is you have to be disruptive on defense because Self's offense relies on a lot of execution and a lot of timing overall. KenPom likes this game a little bit differently, not too favorable for the Razorbacks. They got this game going to Kansas at 73 73-69 at 64%. This is going to be a fantastic basketball game between two Hall of Fame coaches here. These two have met quite a bit. They know each other's tendencies quite well. We've seen Cal use some of these options in the past that we were just talking about here on these defensive sets to kind of face up with this four game that Kansas likes to use overall. You're going to key players you need to know. Like I said, Hunter Dickinson and Zeke Mayo. Those are going to be your two primary guys. Keep an eye out for DeJuan Harris, too, who's an excellent facilitator for this Kansas team. Let's jump to who is the more likely option here on the first weekend there in Providence, and that's St. John's. St. John's is really a team that is known about their defense. They're an excellent defensive team. They're the Big East champs. They're a very good team. And yeah, this thing plays like a Pitino defense. In the past, Calipari and Rick Pitino have met several times. You might remember that Rick Pitino, before going to Iona and his hiatus from college basketball, was the coach at Louisville. You can only imagine how much these two have faced each other as Louisville and Kentucky head coaches. St. John's, like I said, that defense. First thing you'll notice is that out of the press, the defense is going to back into a 2-3 matchup zone in the half court when they break it down. The best counter to this is going to be for Arkansas to be solid from the three, deliver good entry passes to the interior, and have confidence in your ability to drive when you choose to drive in isolation. That's going to be very important for Arkansas to have a lot of confidence when on the ball. That's a big part of this game plan overall. In the press, Pitino is going to run a lot of inbound denial with the defender playing safety around the free throw line to deny those inbound passes. You're going to see a lot of forces to the corner off this as well. Inbound passes have been a little shaky against the press this season for Arkansas. Has to be an area that's cleaned up if Arkansas does get the opportunity to play in the round of 32 against St. John's. This can be a huge potential matchup, and a big piece of this game is just the turnover battle. St. John's is really good on defense, and they will make you pay, and they have no problem scoring in transition. You got to be good on the inbound. Part two of the press, if it's not successful in their trapping, the secondary goal is to speed up the offense, to cause careless passes, a little bit of panic, get you off your rhythm a little bit. That's kind of Rick Pitino's game plan here, and really a situation that St. John's is going to want to speed you up. The thing is with St. John's, they are an excellent defense. Right now, the number one defense in KenPom, actually. And then an offensive game that's not quite as good as you would expect for the Big East champion, 65th in the country right now, according to KenPom. Their first game is against Nebraska Omaha, or the Omaha Mavericks, as you will, the team that loves to destroy trash cans. Now, KenPom has them beating Omaha 82-64 at 95% there in that first game. So more than likely, if you do advance it around to 32, St. John's is probably going to be your opponent for the Razorbacks. A key player to know on the St. John's team is Kadari Richmond. Tough shot maker, mid-range specialist type, and he's a good passer from the high post. He's not known as a three-point shooter, but not a guy you can just leave open. He's a sensational defender. He can steal the basketball, put a lot of pressure on you, turn you over. He's got long arms and can get a putback on the glass, even behind defenders without getting it over the back. He's also a kind of throwback player where you're going to see a lot of mid-range, and a guy that is going to be working from the paint a little bit. It gets a lot of his assists once he gets into the elbow, kicking it out to a guy on the three or finding the postman at the number 5 spot for his game. That's how he gets so many assists. He's, like I said, got a big body frame that allows him to do some work against some forwards. So the key area to look out for there. Some other players you need to know on this St. John's team. You're talking about RJ Lewis, key player, and then Zuby Eljafor, and then Devion Smith, key players here. Rotation that this team likes to use, primarily Kadari Richmond, Wilcher, Aaron Scott at that number 3, RJ Lewis at that number 4 spot, and then Zuby Eljafor at the center position. Rick Pitino is going to use has in the past over the last 5 games, use this rotation at 27.6% of his possessions coming into the NCAA tournament. So those are the guys you mainly need to pay attention to and get familiar with if you're a Razorback fan and you do happen to see Rick Pitino there in round two. This is an exciting bracket. I mean, this is got to be one of the most exciting regions that we've seen in the NCAA. The selection committee just got really excited when they had the opportunity, but Calipari and Bill Self and Rick Pitino all in the same group. And then they put it with a team that, if you follow college basketball, are just TikTok stars right now with all this crazy stuff that Omaha is doing. But this is going to be a fun field. The Razorbacks, I actually think, are in an interesting position here because they can play with these teams. How the results go, all over the map. We have no idea how Arkansas is going to do in this tournament. These are matchups. Like I said, Arkansas can go on one. They could go 2-0 and find themselves in the Sweet 16. Who knows? This is a crazy field overall. But guys, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to the Hoop Southbound Show. Greatly appreciate you guys being here. Also, check out Caleb's show, Hog on the Hill. I appreciate him being a guest here today. But we'll go into another team here in their opening weekend, do a little preview there, and be sure to join us after each round of the NCAA tournament when we go through the results that we see here every night on the tournament. Well, not every night. We're going every round, but we'll see you guys for those as well. Just stay with us and follow us as we go through the NCAA tournament, and I will catch you in the next one.